all the way back, baby.
Yeah, and if we say book your hotel, you book your hotel. But my lord, I have soiled myself.
What do you mean by live? Genuine live? Hello, radio!
And now, another episode of The Way We HNC. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Way We HNC It. My name is Bez. I will be your host for the evening. It is a pleasure to be back in the seat. It's been a little while, and by God, has there been a lot going on in the flag football world. We've had a historic European Championships with the Great British men's team making a run to the semi-final for the first time in almost 2 decades, and of course our GB women's flag team have repeated as champions, knocking off Austria in what will certainly go down as an absolute classic of the genre this evening. Cammy Wilson is back. How are you doing, Cammy?
Hello, Bez! I'm grand, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm glad to be back in the seat. Congratulations on your hosted episode for the BAFA finals. And of course, that's the first time I've seen you since you became a back-to-back national champion. So you can even have a short round of applause for that.
Warm up the soundboard early.
And yes, this evening we are joined by a member of the coaching staff from that European Championship team. He started playing flag football as a cadet, going on to become one of the stalwarts of the Grangemouse Flag Football Club. As a Bronco, I believe he's also played as a Colt and a Mustang. He has captained the Chieftains. He is a Super 5 champion. He was a GB Silver Lion, and now he's a 2-time European champion coach. We are, of course, welcoming this evening Mr. Fraser Thomson to the show. Fraser, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated for having me.
That's great. And yes, you can have some cheering as well. So yes, how has the last 10 days of your life been, mate?
Depressing.
What a high note to start on.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, football's been non-stop for months. It's been camps, it's been tournaments, it's been camps, it's been game days, it's been everything. And then for the first time, sort of, I don't know, since May, it sort of feels like there's a little bit of a lull in terms of actually being on the field. I mean, that's certainly not to say we've stopped. I think we've had 3 calls that have pushed the 2.5-hour mark since we won the title, including one literally the night that we all travelled home. I think I was sat in the Charles de Gaulle airport at 10 o'clock in the evening on a call discussing what we were going to do next. So
no rest for the wicked.
Exactly. Wouldn't have it any other way, though.
Wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, I guess this is one of those episodes where we're kind of starting at the end, and we're going to kind of go back in time and come back to the events in Paris. Obviously, you've been with the GB Women's setup for a while. You were obviously there in Limerick. You were there in Latte. You've been there over this season as well. When did you kind of first take a coaching role with the side?
So I think the first session that I went down to was probably in April or May of 2023, ahead of Limerick. First time that I went down, it was sort of with no intentions of being part of the gold setup or anything like that. It was Dean was running one of his his trial days just to get people involved, and he was looking for some extra coaches. Katie and Bethany were both talking about going down, so I said to Dean, sure, I'll turn up. It went okay. Dean invited me back, and then next thing you know, the DC Liam, his partner ended up having a baby the week of, or was due the week of Limerick. So was told under no uncertain terms he was not travelling to Limerick. So I was asked, would I fill the role? So it was a bit of a
So that's okay. Yeah,
Show
okay.
in the door.
that was my in, I guess you could say.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So it literally goes from like if you need a hand
Yeah,
to like
yeah, exactly.
calling the defense.
Quite a quick
What?
progression, especially with the outcome in Limerick. Like, how was that? Like, did you any imposter syndrome? Like, did you feel overwhelmed at all?
I guess so. Limerick was. I guess I was fortunate in that so much of that team had been together for so long. I knew a number of the girls who were on that squad for a long time. I think there's photos of me playing against Kelly Barrett from like 2006 or something like that.
Wow.
So like I've known a number of those players for a long time. And to be perfectly honest, they were so ingrained in the scheme that it was more of a scouting job and putting them in a position to succeed. To an extent, that's continued. We're putting our girls in a position to succeed, and they're going from strength to strength.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we enter the world of around that time we enter the world of like ranking points and having a clear understanding of what you have to do as a team in order to qualify for other things. So obviously you know that the European Championship means that you're kind of going to have a higher seed for Latte. When that comes out, were there because this is something like we talk about it a lot, like kind of just as like viewers of the sport, and you try and work stuff out. Like, do you, when you're involved in the setup, is there a bit like do the conversations happen where it's like, right, we know that you need to do this to get the points to get to here with the ultimate goal of like, I mean, I guess we say LA or beyond, but like if in order to get to LA, you need to be at this event. And if you're going to qualify for this event, then you need to do this at this event. And if you're going to do that at that event, like, and then all of a sudden you're talking about things that are happening in 2025, like, does that come into it? Or is it just like,
I mean, I guess back then, probably not.
So,
because it was new, because obviously GB had been out of the sort of European or world scene for 4 years at that time.
We missed Israel, and
the last time those girls had stepped on the park before Limerick was the final in 2019.
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of an element of the unknown, and to be perfectly honest, even post Worlds, I think there was a little bit of skepticism's maybe not the right word, but we weren't totally sure where that Euros victory would place us, having been absent for so long. So when we came out in fourth, that was obviously a really nice surprise. And yeah, you do look forward. You do look at it and you go, okay, what does this mean for the group stage draw for Worlds the next year? I mean, certainly now, again, not try to jump too far into the future, but there's discussions around what does this Euros mean? Are we going to elevate ourselves back up into that top four? Could we go slightly higher than that? Do Canada's performances mean anything for us? But I think we're at a stage now with the programme where we understand that to be where we want to be, we're going to have to beat the best teams that are there, regardless of when we face them. Sure, It's nice to face them later on in tournaments once you've got some game time under your belts. But we want to go out, we want to beat the US, we want to beat Mexico, we want to beat Canada.
Yeah.
Like, whenever that happens, we're going to be ready for it.
Yeah, and obviously we've got one championships left this year, and then it'll be all eyes on Dusseldorf next year. But
So
yeah. So on you go, Cammy.
you're in previous years, I'd say that you probably only considered, especially in the women's scene, there was a big two being Mexico and USA. But with the recent development of Canada, is it really changing much on your perspective and your preparations and what you're planning on looking at?
Right, so obviously this year for Euros,
It's quite an
I
early
won't lie,
question
we
considering
put,
we're just over the line of Euros, but
yeah, I mean we're certainly talking about it. Like when we're looking ahead to Worlds, we're looking at trying to identify what is the best path to go through in order to prepare us for playing these top teams. Now we can go to as many like European tournaments as we may want to, but unless teams are also sending their national teams, I don't know necessarily how much of a competition that is for European gold medalists.
of course,
Yeah.
So certainly we're looking ahead. We're looking at how do we beat these teams from the Americas? How do we continue to perform well against the best teams in Europe and Japan and China? Like I think Canada obviously put a spanner in the idea of the big two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did.
But but I mean that's exactly where we want to be. So it's just for us, it's putting ourselves in a position to get over those sort of big games in the world on the world stage. We're not satisfied with just being the best team in Europe, although it is a nice thing to be able to hold on to.
It is quite cool. So yeah, obviously the Worlds end last year with a placement game win over Italy, which locks in the World Games, Chengdu, and all of the kind of opportunities and interesting things that come with flying to the other side of the world for flag, with arguably the most stacked tournament the flag world has ever seen. To be honest, I don't really think it's arguable. Probably is. Between that, there's kind of there's obviously the coaching change. So obviously Dean steps down, Jack steps in the head coach role. Markey comes in as DC, and you stay on as in the defensive kind of assistant role. So what was that whole thing like? Because obviously you're one of the few carryovers, especially on obviously Jack, but he's changed role. I mean, I know you've changed role as well, but there's a lot of different people on the staff now that maybe weren't there, certainly in Limerick. How's that been for you? Like your kind of both coaching development and like day-to-day involvement. Like how was that process?
So I mean, I guess if I start on just sort of the overall staff changes or staff movement development, however you want to put it, I think it was one thing that we sort of targeted, even while Dean was head coach of the program, was how do we develop our Silvers team to become gold players. And I think in 2023, certainly 24 for the most part, that was one thing that we maybe struggled with a little bit, was having a consistent coaching staff there to help develop those players. So Jack identified that really early on, and we brought in people like Greaves and Jake from the Panthers, and then Megan from the Flame or from Hyde Park I can't remember if it was still Hyde Park at the time, to sort of supplement that Silvers coaching staff, and that's done wonders to have that sort of consistent basis where those Silver players can come in, they know who's coaching them, they know what to expect, they know what they're getting from their staff. And to be perfectly honest, it's just been nice to have another group of people who love flag as much as the rest of us, who are as obsessed as the rest of us, and who are willing to stay up to the wee hours of the morning to discuss things at camps. and then beyond. Like we had a Megan and Greaves and Yayan were over in.
Exactly what I was going to say. It's really nice to see these people that are being brought into silvers actually coming over to Paris to work with the golds and help you guys with the scout and the different admin aspects of it as well. Like, speaking quite a lot to Megan, I know she really appreciated it, and to an extent, I know Greaves and Dan, good friend of the show, has spoke very highly of him and how much he enjoyed it. So I know they, even away from the coaching staff, really appreciate what you guys have done with them. So just hearing you say that as well is quite lovely too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they got a lot of praise, and they deserved all the praise that they got for the dog work that they did in Paris. I think they all missed They certainly missed their quarter-final game. They may even have missed their semi-final game to be going and scouting potential future opponents.
Wow.
It wasn't until the actual final itself that those guys who'd put all the work in actually got to stand and watch the team that they've put so much effort in for actually deliver on the information that they provided. And it's like having them there freed like myself, Marky and Jack up to deal with just other bits and pieces that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. So it's a real credit. It was a full staff as opposed to just maybe the sort of 4 or 5 people that were on the sideline at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, I'd never really considered the fact that, like, you know, like from the outside, you kind of think that, like, I mean, obviously, not only so many people have like sideline access, like that's cool, that's normal, and then, you know, but it never occurred to me that the rest of the staff wouldn't just be like on the other side of the fence or like, you know, the other side of the cones. But yeah, of course, like it makes total sense. Like you're playing a semi-final and the other one's going on over there. You have to have eyes on it. Of course you do. You know, you can't
Talking
just sit.
about, like-
You can't just sit at home in the UK and split screen. That would be mental. Who does that?
Talking about like the change of personnel as well, like what we spoke to Nick about when he was on the podcast earlier this year. One of the key things that he wanted to work on was a change of intensity, and a lot of people have spoke about the young era in coming in, and one of the big things Nick did change was the intensity. Just hearing from Mac and Max what they've seen at camp, I think one of the biggest things that we seen from the outside was personnel changes of players, but as coaching staff, what was one of the biggest difference coming from like yourself as someone who worked with Dean previously to Jack now?
So, I mean, this isn't in any way to sort of talk down to what Dean built. Dean built the program to what it is now.
Team.
And to be perfectly honest, Dean had, not that we haven't had our challenges this year, but Dean had a lot of sort of background challenges going on at the same time. But one thing that Jack came in, and from minute one of meeting one, both with the staff and with the players, he wanted to drive a culture of just pure intensity and hard work and effort, and just, I guess, given everything that you've got for the program, I'd be surprised if most of the people listening to this hadn't at least seen some kind of reference to the sort of moniker that came up that was Haribo, that has stuck with so much of the team. And I don't know that. I think we worked it out. I think there's still 6 or 7 of the team from Limerick that are still around. And yes, we've brought in some new players. We've brought in some excellent silvers from last year, like Jock and Abby and Laura, and obviously Jess, who have all stepped up massively. But even within, I guess, the existing players, the team, I don't think the team's ever been stronger or more together or just more like a team, I guess. And that's been amazing to watch and to witness. And again, a lot of that comes down to, it comes down to the players' efforts at the end of the day, but the staff driving that at every practice, every meeting, even away from meetings, trying to push, like in players' own personal time, and they've really risen to the challenge, and it's been really wonderful to see.
So, like with that, obviously, it's no secret part of their background that both Jack and Marky have worked with the Panamanian side, and obviously you're working very closely with Marky. Like what, like there's not many people out there, right, that have basically coached at the highest level, Latin American teams who are known for their enthusiasm and passion for flag football. So, like, what? And it's a culture that is obviously very different to that kind of the understated kind of you get over here. Like people don't often like to kind of shout about how good they are. They just kind of want to get on with what they're doing. But at some point, the coaches obviously turn around and say, like, no, if you want to be the best, you have to like believe that you're the best and stop putting yourself down. What's it been like for you to work with kind of the two coaches in their roles as they are now since Worlds, that are kind of used to that intensity and like pushing that intensity?
So I mean, I guess if I take it back just a step to
of course,
the end of Finland, the sort of victory over Italy, which should, to all intents and purposes, have been a really happy occasion. We just qualified for, like you say, what is probably the highest quality flag football tournament that there's been on the women's side. There was not a smile coming away from that game. There was, I guess, relief more than anything, because I think, I'm not even going to say that was a minimum goal, because we knew we should be there. So I guess there was a lot of sort of reflection within the coaching staff coming away from Finland. I think everybody recognised that there was things that we had to get better at. I think one takeaway that we had was European football is not the same as World's football. We went in with the same schemes that we'd used against European teams, having never played against these teams from outside of Europe. The Panama game on day 2 in the group stage was the first time a GB women's team had ever played against anybody outside of Europe. And it was a shock. And things didn't go how we wanted it to go. And we won the game, sure. But you could see where the issues were.
The lights were shining through the cracks a little bit. Like it was,
And that was just exacerbated in obviously the Japan defeat, and then Canada the game after. When you put 40 points on the team, you should be winning the football game. Like that's end of. Defensively, we had to be better, and we couldn't get the stops when we needed them. So I guess for me coming away, I think there was always a sort of realization of like it was on me to an extent, not totally on me, but like there's an element of that.
Mm-hmm.
So Jack was when Jack got the role, he was open and he was honest with me about where we were with it. He spoke to me and he said, "Look, I want you on the staff," but he couldn't promise me that it would be as the DC, I guess. And that was obviously difficult for me to sort of listen to and to sort of take on, but I understood it. And his point was, it may be the case that we don't find somebody that matches what he needed. So when he told me about Marky, it took me a little while just to sort of process that and take it. But it took sort of one conversation with Marky to be like, okay, this is somebody that I can work with. We had the same ideas. Like, obviously, I'm coming up with plans on how we can improve things, and Marky comes in and he says very similar things to me in a slightly more excited manner. He's been there, he's done that, he's seen football on that side of the pond. And I sort of, I went away from that conversation and I thought about it, and I don't know that there was ever a point where I considered stepping back, because I could sort of I could recognise that I definitely recognised that there was so much to come from the team and from the players, and we'd sort of built such great relationships with some of those players that if I'd sort of stepped away when I could offer anything to that team, I'd feel like I was letting them down. And I couldn't have dealt with that for them to know that I could have helped in any way. So went down to the first trials, and Marky's personality shone through immediately. He knows what he wants, and he expects you to understand it, and he expects you to get it, and he delivers. And the girls delivered. I think he provides feedback in a different way. I think the girls gave him the moniker Doctor Doom. Even like we could have a really good game, but there was always something to tweak. There was always something to improve on. Now, it wasn't always negative, and I'm not suggesting that for a second. He knew when people needed the hype up, and when we needed the positivity as well. But like you say, it's just a very different style. And I think.
Sorry, when you go, I'll let you finish.
I was just going to say, I think he and Jack, obviously having worked together before, I think they bounce off each other really well. They both know where each other are at and just how to fit in, how to fit everything together to provide exactly what the team needs.
Taking that with how you are, and I'd like to say I know you fairly well. We've shared a pitch together, and we've been on opposite ends of the pitch and at different ends of a bedroom in Cologne at one point. But your personality is nowhere near as... I'm sorry, not your personality, but your like demeanour, the way you come across, is a lot more calm and reserved than what Marky's is. How does that compare when you're working together? Is it balanced out? Does he take a lead? Is it?
I mean, he certainly leads. I mean, it comes with the sort of DC side of things. It's his game show, I guess. For me, we had enough conversations coming into the camps before we sort of started talking to the players for me to understand exactly what it was that he was looking for, and I can be that sort of, I guess, quiet word in a player's ear while Marky's explaining everything to sort of the wider group. I can take people off to the side and just go over sort of small things.
Of course.
I think it works quite well together. I think I don't want to say good cop, bad cop.
That's literally what just came out.
I don't like it's not quite that.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
To like nowhere near the same comparison, but in the Hornets youth, me and Thomas McDonald are very similar. I'm quite loud and quite brash, whereas he is very calm and consoling. And yeah, I completely understand what you mean.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's video of me running up the sideline with Kate after she got a pick against Finland. It's not that I can't get excitable. It's just I find it a lot easier just trying to keep my emotions in check as much as possible.
Of course.
I think it's interesting though, like what you say there, because like even, and I will reach out to Marky for a chat, but it's like it's the mark of good coaching of like knowing when to push and knowing what knowing when someone needs the right act and when somebody needs the kind of the calm word or the kind of build up again. You know, like you can't win with one or the other. Like you have to have both, and obviously he's displaying both. I know full well you can display both, and it comes down just to empathy, right? Like okay, yeah, it's high level sport, but at the same time, generally speaking, if you're just like a good person about it, then it'll all come through.
Like you alluded to earlier, you've got the relationship with these girls for longer than Marky has, so the ones that were going back to Latte and stuff. So you being more consoling does.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some of the, like Marky's built some really good personal relationships with a lot of the girls.
Yeah,
and a lot of the girls probably react better to, I guess, his style of coaching a little more than my sort of quiet and reserved side of it. It's like you say, it's that mix, that balance.
It's a great mix. It really is, and like you can tell, you could tell that from the, like Rory and Andy and Blessing, and like they captured some incredible images post-game, post-final in Paris, and you can tell the relationships that exist. And the interesting thing you said earlier on was about the team being probably closer than they've ever been. Like you've said that, but like I know that because I've seen the output, I've seen the images, and
but I mean it's very easy.
You can't fake that, right?
No, but
and
it's
it's
very
amazing
easy to
the
be,
work that the team have done to get to that point. Go ahead.
it's very easy to be, I guess, friendly or pally or to share a moment just after winning the Euros. I think where the big work was done was in the I wasn't in Boston for the sort of camp that the girls went to, but I can't say how much of a difference there was in the team between me seeing them in the camp before Boston and then when I met up with them in China. Because they had spent time together, they'd spent evenings together sort of talking about being personal with each other and not just, I guess, professional. So the relationships were sort of forged in darker days isn't right, but when things weren't all right and rosy, and they really put the effort in to gel, and yeah, it really is night and day. It's brilliant to see.
Okay, so let's talk China. Like let's do it. World Games.
Yeah, go for it.
World Games, China. At what point for you did it become real? Like at what point did it actually hit you that you were like, "Hot damn, I am about to fly to like the People's Republic of China to go to like a multi-sport event in a city that, if we're being honest, is a massive Chinese city, but they're all massive.
Probably
so
never on your bucket list before.
Probably never heard of Chengdu until about 18 months ago. Yeah, like is it when you get your visa? Is it like when you turn up at the airport? Like how? Like at what point? Because you know from the Worlds onwards, and I guess you know when you rejoin the staff again and kind of just before Christmas. But there's always that like kind of click where you're like, oh, I'm going to do the thing now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly getting the visa was a new experience. I think every tournament that I've been to is. I don't know if I've been outside of Europe to play before. I don't think I have. But obviously, China's visa process is another
extensive.
level. But I think just sort of like the real sort of big moment for me is when you sort of we arrived in Chengdu. We got off the bus. And we're going through metal detectors and we're scanning in with our photographic IDs and we're stood in a queue sort of waiting to get our room keys. And I'm looking around and I'm going, I don't recognise that guy, or I'm not sure who they are. And I'm like, that's because this is no longer just flag football.
Yeah.
Flag football is sort of
course
now just part of this multi-sport event where
a very big machine.
Yeah. Like you go into a sort of dining hall at Euros or even at Worlds now, you recognise probably 60-70% of the people that are around you. Just realising the stage that you're on, because I'm not sure if anybody. I'll see, like, fingers crossed we see what LA looks like in 2028. But to be in like an athlete's village, which was full on like multiple hotels. It's a really weird thing to say, but the laundry room is 140 washing machines on a bottom level and 140 dryers on the top level. Yeah,
that's so good.
And it's something that sticks with me because, well, what the hell? Like, where else are you going to see something like that?
It's like
it's always the wee things though, like that though, that like properly get inside your brain, isn't it? Like it's always the wee things. And so
the closest platform we can possibly get to before the Olympics.
That isn't the Olympics. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 100%.
So obviously you guys go out there like the week before. So you're there for the opening ceremony, and the previous opening ceremony in Lati for the Worlds was like on the indoor pitch with the stage and a welcome and some flags. I mean, it's going to be different when you go to China, right? Because like they just like it's not like there's a budgetary concern about what we can do for the opening ceremony. But sitting at home watching it, I was struck by like the splendor of that opening ceremony, and then the pop that went around the group chats and obviously our Instagram and all that kind of stuff when the GB team walk out at the front of the GB delegation, like waving the flags. Was like, tell me.
I'm gonna rain on your parade a little bit here.
He wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
No.
I was. And I'm going to sound cheesy here, but I'll say it and I'll get some brownie points. As with the other love of my life, it was.
Yes, good
it
boy.
was our 1 year anniversary.
It was an anniversary.
I had let Jack know very early on that there was one date that I would not be available for, so it meant flying out a little bit late to China. So I missed.
Okay.
I missed the.
So you go out. You go out later. You join them then over the weekend.
So I would have arrived. So I flew on the Saturday.
Okay.
So I arrived late on the Sunday evening, the day before we moved into the Athletes' Village.
Right. Yes, and then Athletes' Village is Monday, and then tournament kickoff was later in the week.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Was the Wednesday
to Saturday?
Yeah.
Wednesday to Saturday.
Sounds about right.
I think so. Sounds broadly accurate.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, group game, knockouts, finals. Yeah, that sounds about right. So in terms of like where, like the actual format of the tournament itself and the day to day, because like, did you ever, once it actually got down to like right now we're just playing flag, were you able? Did it feel like less of a big deal? Because it was kind of hard, like it was hard to tell from here, like because you couldn't really see the surrounding area of the what they're allegedly calling a high school. Like what? It's not what my high school looked like. But did you still feel like you were part of this like massive event, or were you able to just like lock in and be like, right, it's flag, and we've got the teams we got?
So it was definitely, I guess, an issue with having such a big thing is you can't have the venues so close to the village for everything. Not everything's going to be close together, so we were a long way separated from sort of everything else.
Okay.
But you still got the feeling of what you were at. Again, you were still signing in with your photo IDs. You're still going through the sort of the security checks. We had what was, I guess it was a classroom, was like our
HQ
meeting space or whatever. Big screens up, signs on the walls. You know it's yours. Like, and the volunteer. Like, I remember when Glasgow hosted the Commonwealth Games and they were putting out the call for volunteers to come and support at any of the sports that they've got going. I guess you don't really realise how much those guys do or put up with, because the people that supported us and all the other teams at the venue were basically just at like beck and call. They were there all the time for anything that we needed. So I mean, you still get that feeling. It's a far cry from some of the other tournaments that I've been to. And like just I guess production value. You're sat on the sideline under a tent with a massive aircon unit, making sure that everybody's cool. Ice being refilled behind you, water being refilled behind you. You are very aware that this is a step up.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got the actual talent on the field that proves that as well.
Yeah, so we'll get to that, right? Let's do it. So Italy, obviously the team who's kind of we thought weren't going to go with everything that happened with FIFA in Spain. I guess their unfortunate loss is Italy's gain. Italy get to fly out and participate. How much did you just want that game to kick off in the morning?
Oh, I mean, I can't even begin to explain. Like,
like I just want it to start.
I mean, I had conversations. So, Paris was Megan's first sort of international tournament that she'd ever been to. We were having discussions beforehand. I hate the 2 days before the tournament. I absolutely hate it because there's so little to do. You've done your prep work. You've done your scout. There's no real new scout that you can do. You're not going on the field because you don't want people getting hurt.
Yeah. Hold the handrail, look both ways crossing the road. Like all that. Yeah. Don't eat anything unusual.
Exactly. For that moment. And in China it's even like don't drink the tap water. Like such little things that you don't think about. But no. That anticipation just builds and builds and builds until you hit that first whistle, and then everything's right with the world again.
And I guess that day was only one game, so it's like it all did it then rebuild in the afternoon?
No, because after that game you get a chance to go and scout teams.
Oh, of course, because they've all played, right?
So for players, after the game's done, they get that little bit of downtime where they need to rest, recover, relax, recharge.
Yeah, fueling, all that stuff.
And that's, it's, to be perfectly, like, I love being on the sideline at a game, but I love the scouting. I love the analytics of the gaps between the games almost as much as being on the sideline of like the number of like 3 a.m. finishes that we've just had in Paris, and I would do it all again in a heartbeat.
Is it more of a rush for you? So, like, obviously, going into the World Games, basically, you're scouting, I would imagine, World's footage, and then anything you could maybe get from Asian Continentals the year before and stuff. But so obviously, you guys played the Italians, and then I guess Japan were playing Mexico. You got to do it pretty much immediately, right? Like there's a time pressure there because you've got to do it immediately, communicate that to the other coaches, communicate that to the players, well, come up with a plan, communicate the plan to the players, make sure the players understand it. And then also, like you say, rest, recover, refuel, go to bed, get up in the morning, warm up. Like, is that like the rush for you?
I mean, yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, like at the end of the day, I love flag football. So any way that I can get more of it, like, yeah, who would have thought it? You know. So obviously, Marky and I have spent time together looking at film of our players when we're making our sort of judgments or we're sort of trying to narrow down squad selection. Ian and I had built up a sort of formula for how we wanted to go about scouting the next opponent that had worked really well for us in Limerick. But even just learning how Marky wanted to do things, just learning slightly different ways of looking at an offense and how to break it down, that was a challenge as well. Like an enjoyable one, not something that was difficult, but just, okay, this is what we're looking at, this is how we're doing it. And then, like you say, having that time then where you book out one of the conference rooms that they've got with the 75 with the wall length projector screen that you can then present everything to the players.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I guess. Oh yeah, on you go, Cammy. On you go.
Your preparation, like again, I spoke a little bit earlier about like how you almost got kind of thrown in the deep end at Limerick, but this is now leading up to the biggest stage and as a player or a coach that you have ever been on. Like, what was your own preparation like for it? Did you have to do anything different than you usually do, or were you just kind of stick to the routine, go through the motions?
So, I think for me personally, I try and stay pretty try and stay pretty level about stuff. So I wouldn't say anything changed massively. There was probably more of the same stuff because we're now in it. We probably watched more film. We spent more time with players because we're now at a stage where the level of professionalism has to go up.
It's
And
like
I know how much, like especially for like Jack and Marky and Britt and Paul Monera as well, who's over in Australia. There's some 3 a.m. starts. There's some late finishes. It is ridiculous some of the time, the shifts that people have put in to get the team where they needed to be. But sort of, I guess from a coaching perspective, a big part of what we had to think about this year was we're going into World Games, which is a new experience, with a new quarterback who hasn't been on that stage before, and with a brand new defensive scheme.
Yeah.
Nobody was going into that tournament comfortable.
Of course.
And it was a place. One of Marky's first talks was about get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love that. I love it.
And we were in a stage going into it where I think there was a lot of unknown, because you've practiced against your own plays, you've practiced against a little bit of scout, but until we got on that field against Italy, you don't know how it's going to translate.
Of course.
And it was a slow start, but without a doubt, and we gave up a touchdown on a play that we should have covered comfortably, and it took Marta going up and grabbing a Hail Mary on 4th and forever to sort of kickstart us into life, and just sort of bringing out that sort of team spirit. If you ever go back and watch the highlights on that game, don't go and watch Marta. Watch Kate jump 20 feet into the air as Marta comes down with that ball standing next to her. It's, you just see how much it means to the team. So
obviously, like, we knew the groups came out in advance, and like the Spain game, Italy game, okay, a team we know, team we see every Euros, sometimes in the between, but the other 2 games are the kind of games that make you sit up in your chair, right? And I'm going to sit up in my chair. The Japan game, obviously, there's now a history there. First time I ever played Japan in World Games. So I was in the World Championships, get them in the group, a year later, sick. Won another crack at them. And then obviously the most famous flag football player on the planet is also in the group, and you get Mexico. I know things like don't really change, but looking back at Latte, the Japan game in Latte and the Japan game in Chengdu, looking at the GB team, because I know Japan didn't have their kind of probably didn't have the tournament they wanted, but what was the key difference you felt in the squad? Just if you take the 2 Japan games in isolation with a 12-month bridge.
So I mean, I think a big part of this comes down to sort of what we were talking earlier about the new scheme and the changes that we knew we had to make. Japan, our entire defensive setup in Finland was a man defense. We allow stuff to happen in front of us, but it's man to man. And the Japanese style that they ran in Finland, you can't man against it. So, I mean, second half of that game in Finland, we tried to run some zone, but our preparation to that point hadn't put us in a good spot to be ready for that.
Suddenly switch, okay.
Throw something in the wall and hope it sticks.
Our defense this time just stood and allowed things to happen in front of them. And I think we gave up a couple of bad touchdowns on deep balls that we should have defended better. But there was no sort of like really badly blown coverages on the underneath things, which opened up space. I think Jock had a real coming of age game in that game where she got the bat down early on in the game to get as a stop on 4th down when they'd sort of driven up the field, and then she got the stop to ice it with the bat down. Or what should have iced it. I think we allowed Japan sort of back into the game a little bit, but credit again to Jess and to Jack and to the offense and Hannah for some excellent runs that just let us run out the clock in that one. But no, I think just it was that style change that was the big difference.
It's funny that you mentioned Jock's blitz highlights, because by the time this airs, the highlight reel will have dropped tomorrow morning of that game. So I was watching them back the other night, and I was just like, I do love high quality blitzing. The highlight reel will go out tomorrow, just before this does. So, and then obviously Mexico. As far as like your first time playing one of the top 2 sides in the world goes, do you think it's beneficial to have had the game earlier on in the day? And then, because otherwise I guess you're waiting all day for it, right?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not the one running around in 40-degree heat.
Well, there is that.
There
is that. I mean, there's a good point, and you've made it well.
No, I mean, I think the more time we got together, the more time we got on the field, the better a team we've become, and I think that's translated not just through World Games, but all the way through to Euros as well. But Mexico's just, it's different again, and I think that's the great challenge of World Games, is every team you play has a different style, is a different thing that you need to worry about. And I think we played a half of really good football, and then we played a half of football that it wasn't bad, but it maybe showed a little bit of our inexperience, where maybe we take a playoff and Mexico punch it in.
Yeah.
And it's just that one play.
Because they don't, right?
Yeah, something to reflect upon. One of the biggest differences between Chengdu and Paris was how much calmer, and like you said earlier, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, how much more comfortable this team looked in certain situations than they did compared to Chengdu. Like, vastly different.
Yeah, and I mean, one just, I've shouted out Jock for that Japan game, but Abby Snelson played a hell of a game against Mexico.
She did.
Taking a not so simple offense to play against and nailed her job. I think it's certainly something that we know as a coaching staff that we need to work on, is sort of dealing with that kind of offense, because we don't see it that often. And to be perfectly honest, it's hard to scout against, because how many scout teams can you have with 4 people that can throw the ball well
and do everything else as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no,
yeah.
Abby was excellent in that game.
And it's the thing that you said about like every team has something you should worry about, and we mentioned earlier on, like it's probably the highest, one of the the highest caliber of tournament there has ever been. I'm just looking back at some of the results now, even from like the first day. Like, I think everyone that was awake at the time stood up and was like, the game before the Italy game was just like, hang on, China scored 45 points on Austria? Sure, Austria scored 47, but like,
what?
What?
I mean,
right, and that came immediately after the first game of the tournament, which was 39-31 USA Canada, and you're like, right, so are Canada really good? Or have USA dropped off a bit? Mexico, Japan, it felt like every round of games you were just like, I have so many more questions than I did at the start, and it's not supposed to be like this. So like when you're there, obviously you're doing your scouting, so you are aware, right, of like what's going on in all the other matches. But what did you? This is going to sound like a really daft question, but like, what did you see from the tournament as a whole that like, I don't know, like inspired you or like made you feel pretty good about the way that like flag football's going on at the top end of the women's game internationally?
I mean, I think, like you say, there was just so many tight football games. Tight football games between high quality opposition. It like you see loads of games around Britain that are tight, that are 6-all because people can't catch the ball or because the weather's horrible or whatever. But just seeing, like you say, and I'll give Austria a little bit of credit here, they had the unenviable task of playing a China team that nobody had seen.
Yeah, right. Like literally, there's nothing on the internet. So
we had a little bit of luck. Yeah, we had a little bit of luck in that we obviously had scrimmaged them before the.
Yeah, of course.
Before but again, I had missed that. But we had at least that much that we knew about them. But yeah, the Austrians were going in totally blind.
And that's so rare internationally.
Oh yeah,
like so rare nowadays that there's just nothing. Yeah, interesting. So I guess we'll bring up Austria, and we'll bring up the quarterfinal in Austria, not in Austria, with Austria. Talk me through what you learned in that game and the process between then and the Euros, where you know that obviously you're the defending champions in the world rankings. They're the number one team in Europe. Odds are good. You'll see them. You have to beat them if you want a gold medal. Yeah, so talk me through that from like the quarterfinal. Obviously, you've got your placement games, but from the quarterfinal, as far as the nation of Austria went up until kind of a week ago Saturday.
And like you said earlier, Japan was a real get-back game for us.
Yeah.
Since that draw had been made, we knew how much we wanted that game back. Austria have been a European powerhouse for so long. They came to Limerick without their, I guess, usual starting quarterback. And we'd come away with the gold. I think for them, this was them being able to sort of say to us, no, don't overlook us. Don't forget about us. We're as good a team as you are. And I think maybe we went into that game thinking, oh, if we win this one, it's a chance to play the US. And I think there's like that carrot was maybe dangled a little bit too closely in front of us, and maybe we could have done things slightly differently to focus on Austria a little bit more to our cost.
I think it was one of the most challenging points back home as well, and like going from, if you look back at Lati, we'd just come from Japan and we'd got that game, and then we're going into Austria and being like, cool, let's go. And then you get to the end of that game, it's such an emotional swing. But as a coach, how do you then, one, help yourself through that situation, and two, coach your players through that situation coming towards the end of the Austria game?
I mean, I think it definitely took some time. And by time, I mean about a bus ride home for me and Marky to process. Mm-hmm. Because by the time we were sort of back at the hotel, we were looking at that game and going, well, we had hands on the ball twice. We had an opportunity to make another pick where we're in the right coverage, and we just get caught underneath the ball a little bit. So yes, we've been beaten by 2 scores, but we can immediately point to 3 possessions that we felt like we should have got stops on. Now, obviously, if any one of those things happen, it changes the game entirely. But we sort of, your immediate reaction when you come away from that game is, we haven't got a stop. That game must have been terrible. How has this happened? But actually, when we sort of took a breath, we thought about it. We accept the fact we got beat. It wasn't good enough, like to get beat in that manner. But I guess it was about not being fearful of that, and like having the belief that when it comes to what we assumed or what we thought would be a late round opponent for us in Paris, that we knew that again we could get that game back. The girls did, and the girls and the coaching staff did a lot of scout on Austria, as I'm sure they did on us between Worlds and Euros. I mean, that was one negative, I guess, of being at Worlds, is that everybody that you went to face at Euros had at least 3 games of high quality scout material from the current year.
Yeah, like how much can you really change in 6 weeks or whatever it was? But
exactly. Whereas, like when you're looking at maybe like you're looking at France or you're looking at Spain or Germany, you're sort of having to go trawling for club film of like big parts of their national team, or you're having to go back to 2024, and well, a lot can change in a year. So we spent a lot of time sort of looking at ourselves, looking at Austria, and I think the girls went into that game with a real sense of calm, and I think I'm sure we'll get to it, but you could feel sort of midway through the second half of the first Austria game that we were a little down. We were a little, this isn't going how we wanted it to. I'm not sure I ever felt that in the final in Paris. Like, even when we went behind, and we were behind, we were 15 points down. Like, there was never that moment where I was like, there's no belief here. Like, there always felt like there was something, because we knew what it was that we had to do. And yeah, it was just...
Yeah, there's a photograph that Andy took during the final in Paris of he's taking it like through the Austrian offense at Marquet, just like, and it was almost like during the game he's like in his brain running scout like on them. Did he like, is it like the Michael Jordan meme of like, okay, they got us in,
and I took that personally.
And I took that personally. So like,
I mean, I think the team did as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no question about it. We wanted that again. We wanted that game back, and I don't believe that there is a single person on that team that didn't put every ounce of effort that they could between the end of China and the start of Paris to get themselves in the best shape they could be in order to play that game.
So if we dive into Paris now, then it's a long tournament, right? I mean, it's you look at it on the calendar and it's not a long tournament, but it's a long tournament, right? Like there's a lot going on. Other than the way it all ended, like, so you're not allowed to pick the final. Pick it, like what were like maybe one or two moments that you'll take forever, or you know made you that you're proud of, or proud of the team of?
Quarterfinal against Slovenia, definitely one of them. Offensively, I think we scored on every drive, if not every drive, just about every drive. I think Jess was saying after the game that she thinks that's the most points she's put up in any game she's ever played. It's not a bad time to do it.
No, European quarterfinal, 51.
Was that a Friday night? Was this the?
Yes, that was
Friday night lights.
Late on the Friday evening.
Friday night lights. Oh, what a night for GB!
Yeah,
it was a very good night for GB.
And it was great just being sort of watching our defense almost sort of, I don't want to say finally get it, because I knew we knew they got the scheme, but finally execute it.
Yeah.
We were never, I don't think we were ever down in the game, but there was a point in the game coming up for half time where we had to take a long touchdown to sort of keep our noses in front, and if we hadn't got that, they could have gone up the field and scored. They got the ball after half, they could have been 2 scores up. As it was, we scored. Defense got a pick, we scored again. Defense got another pick, and we scored again. And all of a sudden, from potentially being 2 scores down coming out at halftime, we were 3 scores up, and it was because the girls had just nailed it.
Can't write it. Yeah, like
Emma Dedicoat had a sort of tough tournament. She'd had a tough end to the World Games, she came up with the first of those picks. And the team's reaction to that again, everybody was round her, everybody was excited for her. Like, it was great
very
to
cool.
see. Grace, who I cannot speak highly enough of. Yeah.
Got the jersey
just
on.
Takes away the second one. And just everybody made plays. Hannah made plays. Marta made plays. Ellie Thorpe made plays. And our blitzers as well. Like, Jock and Abby again had a game. It was just a full-on defensive performance.
And I think
that
as
was
well,
like the first time we'd seen it consistently.
Like, that Slovenia team are nothing to be slouched at. Like, they were on debut, made a quarterfinal, they're going to the Worlds. Like, I think I certainly, and I won't lie about it, like, I probably underestimated them. Like, I know it was a big win for GB and that, but like, to then follow them through the placement games and just be like, hot damn. And then, because it didn't even occur to me, really, that it was their debut. I would have argued that I'd seen them at Worlds. I would have been wrong, but like, it didn't seem like, whenever I saw them on a stream, it didn't seem like they were playing in their first ever tournament.
I mean, I'll give Jack his props there. Jack called it early on, because so I think a lot of that side come from the Domzal Tigers.
Yes,
who are a side that have spent a lot of time challenging the top end of King Bowl and European tournaments. And I think the majority of people just had that group chalked up as Austria, Switzerland, 1-2 comfortable. I know Jack early doors said, keep an eye on Slovenia, and
he was
every now and again he gets one right.
It's been quite a while, but one of the first time we ever got to do the live stream at King Bowl, I think it was the Tigers versus
Red Lips.
Maybe it was the Red Lips that year. And I hadn't seen either of them play in person before until that weekend. And it's literally the live because we'd been knocked out. We'd been out for a little while. The live stream is just Greg and I commentating and just giggling at the football because it was so good. Like, it was such an end-to-end game. And the Tigers, having never seen them before, I was just like, who did? And they've won it. They've won it a number of times since. So they've made finals a number of times since. So yeah, it makes sense that you put them in a Slovenia
as a DC
jersey.
Though, like, when you get into that, when things start clicking for a defense, and you can start being a bit more relaxed with your call and trusting your players a little bit more and making sure that, like, everything's just falling into place. There's no better feeling in the world than just knowing that the five you've got out there are just going to go and cause absolute carnage, and they're just going to be a problem. And again, on a much lesser level, when I was calling the Hornets youth in the British final in that first game, and it's just like everything is going as well as it possibly can right now, and it just goes and goes and goes, and it just carries on, and momentum builds, and then it rubs off on the offense. And
yeah, and I mean that's a major reason why we put so many points on the board. I think even when we were doing well in sort of Limerick and at the start of Lati, I think Dean came into a room and sort of had a joke with me and Jack that the defense had the best points per game average against, but the offense was lagging behind, and Jack sort of made the point to us, well, yeah, let's go and get some more picks so that we've got shorter field so that we can go and score more points. And I think
it's Dean's defensive mind versus Jack's offensive mind there, I suppose. But
exactly, and I think, like I say, Slovenia was just that game where we finally managed to sort of break that, and we started to take multiple interceptions. It was rather lovely.
So
I have a question that's just very randomly came into my mind and a little bit off path, but going from Dean, who is stalwart defence through and through, has been a cornerstone of defence in Great Britain since, I don't know, like the Bronze Age or whatever, to Jack, who is this offensive mastermind. Is there much difference for you, even though you're not even the DC at the minute? Like, do you see much change in that at all?
Jack, so Dean sort of had the scheme. It was Dean's scheme, and I guess to an extent the Cougars' scheme, because a lot of our defence was the Cougars, and it's what Dean had run for years. Jack sort of took up the role, and then Markey came in, and even to an extent before Markey came in, when he was speaking to me, he was like, "Yeah, I understand what you want to do. Go and do it." And
Okay.
while he's definitely involved and he understands what's going on, because, well, he likes to win in practice, so he wants to know what the defence are doing so that he can beat it.
Yeah.
He leaves Markey
Bit of a looser leash.
pretty well alone to sort of call his own defence and understand what's going on.
So put it all together in quarterfinal Slovenia. You then get the French at home in a semi-final. I mean, like, the story writes itself, right? Like their story is written itself to this point. Obviously, GB versus France writes itself to this point.
The commentators were writing a story as well. Just while
They were right. Oh God, they were writing something. So, obviously, the semi-final. Yeah, that morning, 7:00 in the UK. A late start for our World Games fans. And so yeah, talk me through this, your semi-final experience with
I mean, so
with the
like
French.
you say, 7:00 in the morning. Well, 8:00 our time. But that's 8:00 our time, having warmed up, having got breakfast, having travelled to the venue. About probably, I mean, what are we talking? We probably got back from our Friday night quarterfinal at 10:00 at night. So you're probably talking between kickoff of game of semi-final and getting home, you're talking 10 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, even the bus ride home wasn't a calm experience, because every single player had the men's game on their phone, watching.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Maka take the pick to the house, screaming the bus down.
Is that what that noise was? Because I definitely heard something. Right.
And yeah, like, so it was sort of a, okay, we know you're tired, but this is the moment. And if anything was going to wake you up, it was the French crowd. I think we'd maybe hoped for a wee bit. An 8 a.m. start might bring a little less air horns and shouting, but they were there, and they were loud.
We heard.
But again, it was like.
But that's what you want, though. It's a European Championships
exactly.
semi-final, right? Like, it's not the Sunday, the consolation bracket at Pink Bowl. It's like
it's
you know,
you are where you are. Deal with it and play your best football.
Yeah,
and we really did. I mean, we took the lead early. I think we sort of, it was a back and forth game. Nobody ever really got too far in front. I remember Hannah got an interception sort of at a relatively important point of that game, and it reminded me so much of Laura's not interception, but Laura's fight with Mexico in the back of the end zone, where they both sort of clamped onto the ball at the same time, and the flag came out again, and you just sat there and you're going, no, not again.
Hold your breath. But
Hannah had just bodied the receiver, and she was not letting go of that football. And again, it's just the sort of happiness of the celebration. It wasn't over exuberance. It was, people were just excited to see good football from their team.
Yeah, you're psyched for your mates, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's that sort of, it's that culture coming through, and it's that blend of the two cultures. It's not getting in the opponent's face, which you sometimes see in the Americas, but it is actually having that excitement at a good play. And I think that's one thing that Markey's drummed into everybody, is an incomplete pass is a good play for the defence. Celebrate it. Celebrate the good plays. It doesn't need to be at the opposition. It doesn't need to be aggressive, but enjoy being on the field. And the girls really did. So yeah, coming down the stretch in that game, we sort of give up the late touchdown to go behind, and we're driving back down the field to try and take the lead again. Couple of big plays again to Grace, and then we get fourth and 10. And Jack calls his play, and funnily enough, it was, I think, the second or third last play of our pre-tournament camp, and Jack drilled into Jess, this is where the ball goes, this is where the ball goes, this is where the ball goes. And Jess threw it to the wrong place, to the wrong receiver. Laura tried to make a catch, and I think she's fractured one of her fingers 3 plays before our camp end.
She did.
And she did a hell of a job all tournament long playing through that.
Oh, she did.
Like, a hell of a job.
Shout out
So
Chelsea.
Jack called the same play. Have a guess where Jess threw the ball.
Same
to
place.
The spot she wasn't meant to throw it. But my God, was there some celebrations on that one, and then Emily coming up with a 2-pointer. And again, you're sort of watching the video back. I'm sort of not even watching the celebrations of the people on the field. It's blessing in the background. It's Andy celebrating like mad. Like all the sort of media guys like Rory, Blessing, and Andy, like did such a good job of getting the sport out there. But like they'd become part of the team as well. They'd bought into the culture. They were so involved with everything that was going on that even they had sort of gone away from we're media here. They were just fans, stood with cameras, screaming at the plays that were going on in front of them as well.
I mean, I don't want to speak for Andy, but I think that's all he's ever been. But I mean, I think there's probably a book to be written of, yeah. Like I've only kind of gotten to know like Rory a bit more recently, and I've not had the pleasure of meeting Blessing in person yet, but I'm sure I will. But yeah, there's a book to be written from the various like tournament group chats that we've got going on. Like whenever whenever there's a game like that happens,
yeah, for sure.
Like the you can almost like it's hard. It's I don't know how you could tell, but you can tell when someone sends you a text message when you know their phone is like shaking because they're holding it in their hands. like you get messages like that from Andy during tournaments, which are just they're beautiful. And obviously the only one we've ever made public is flag football in a fucking stadium, which is still one of my favorites. So yeah, and then obviously it's Austria, right?
It's the big one.
I kind of mentioned it at the start of the show and spoke about it a little bit on Instagram before, like 5 minutes before kickoff. Obviously, nobody knew what that game was going to become. And this story that, from a GB perspective, obviously has the happy ending, but just like 21-7 to ahead to coming back to tying to overtime, IFAF overtime in a gold medal match like that. Like if when they do the Hollywood version, like that's how it would go, right? Like Vince Papale realizes the guy's got his weight on his fingers and off he goes. Like it's just,
yeah. I mean, one thing I'll say there is shout out to Wiffle, WFFL for having that same rule, because there was a number of our team who had been through the exact same scenario,
right?
Not even 6 months earlier.
Yeah,
and they went into it ready to go.
And they knew what was coming, right? Like they knew what to do. It's crazy because we were thinking that watching it. I was like normally when you get to a tournament, it's like, oh, we're going to overtime. You're like, oh, what's the rules? And I was like, well, I know the rules.
So this was the thing though. So
it was IFAF rules at BAFA.
NFFL finals, not 3 weeks earlier, 2 weeks, whatever it was.
It was the juniors went through it.
We had 2 different overtime games within 10 minutes of each other. One being a placement game somewhere, and the other one being the 3rd, 4th place final. And 2 of them went off different overtime rules, and we were just like, oh, we don't really know what's going on here. But then,
oh really?
Anyway, yeah.
Because one of the junior finals, they did it properly. They did it by IFAF rules.
Well, it wasn't the Hornets youth, so I don't care. But
that explains it all.
But no, so I think it was because some of the Hornets were reffing it, and they got caught up like 10, 15 minutes, and that overtime went longer than the third, fourth place game between Cardiff and Manchester. But that's very irrelevant right now. What we have at the minute is two teams, the Panthers and the Cougars, who had done this 6 months earlier, albeit on opposite sides of the pitch, are going into the exact same scenario in the biggest stage in Europe, which is just absolute cinema. And I'm so glad they were on the same side of the ball this time to go into it. But combining those heads to go in against a team that beat them not even 6-7 weeks ago, yeah, like
oh. And if there's one thing about it, right, the Austrian decision to go for 2,
ballsy as fuck.
Love it, absolutely love it. That's like unbelievable. But the question is, if it had been the other way around and Austria had gone first, do you think that would have been the call on your sideline to go for 2?
Who's making the call?
Well, I guess it's the offense, right? I guess it's the GB offense.
I'm going to interject here.
So if you want to ask me, I'm probably going to go for 1. If you're going to ask Jack, and I think the question was asked, I think he's likely to go for 2.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the exact same situation in the NFL Flag Championships in can't remember when exactly that was. But we were watching that game on YouTube, and Jack's team were second team to go. They went for 2 to win it. So I think I know which way that would have gone.
That was his dry run.
But
he probably engineered the overtime just to have a bash.
So my question to you, go back to Limerick. There is a beautiful shot of you personally on the sideline in that game against Spain in the final, of where the ball goes up and over. It's a long shot. Their last play of the game, the camera pans round, it hits you, and you just see you looking nice and high in the sky. And what I can only imagine was feeling like 2 minutes when it was actually only probably 2 seconds. Exact same scenario. The ball goes high, it's going over, you've got people jumping in the air to get for it. What's going through your head at that point?
Honestly, just, again, I want to touch on it, but pure belief in the defense, because they had been there, they'd done that, they'd practiced the plays. And actually, I have to give Marta and Grace a shout out on this one, because we had been running a defense a certain way all the way through the tournament, or for the majority of the tournament. And on that last play, they made a decision between themselves to switch which way it went. And Marta got her hands on the football, batted it out the back of the end zone, and from that moment, it's just a blur.
And you'll have watched it numerous times, and you've said it before. Don't look at Marta. Look at the guys in the background.
Look at Grace, who's in the air.
Look at Grace on that play.
She's in the air before
she knows.
Marta touches the ball, because they've nailed the play call, they've nailed the assignments, they've nailed every little bit of that play, and Marta does everything that she's said that she would always do. She punched it 10 yards out of the end zone. It was not up in the air, it wasn't close, it was in the dirt. And
it was
absolutely beautiful.
And I don't think there's a more dominant football player when it comes to a jump ball than Marta.
She's obviously developed that in the last 2 years, because go back and watch the final play of Ireland as she swipes at thin air and the ball lands a yard behind her. Player development, though.
The swipe hasn't changed, but the accuracy has improved. So yeah, obviously Q pandemonium. Arguably the best kind of across the board result for a pair of GB teams at Continental Championship that we've ever had. I'm not going to ask you any questions about the kind of the celebrations on the Saturday night. and then so you get we'll keep that. So you guys obviously come back now. So Dusseldorf's locked in. We're feeling good about, as we kind of maybe mentioned before, like we're feeling good about ranking points. We're feeling good about, obviously, qualification for the Worlds was obviously the bare minimum. We want way more. With the tournament in Asia to come, what's your kind of more global overview on like the state of the women's game at international level, and the fact that Worlds is just the 16 teams now, so we're almost mimicking that World Games feeling where like we're it's a World Championships now where it's just the best of the best, so every game is going to mean so much more.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that globally the women's game is going from strength to strength. I think you can see it by the coverage that it's getting. You can see it by the participation numbers. You can see it just by like a lot of the quality that we're seeing. We're starting to attract people in from other sports, and I mean this is just in the UK. Like I imagine the same is happening across the board, to where we're seeing new players on the teams that we're coming up against. But I mean, seeing the level just rise and rise and rise, like the difference between our sort of the first camps I was at in 2023 compared to like our silver teams and some of the players that have been getting invites to come along to see what flag is all about. Emily Kemp is ultimate frisbee player. I think she was at I'm going to say World Championships. I might be wrong about that. But her dad was over supporting her. Not sure if he's quite as loud as her mum, but like, he was certainly doing a good job of going over to the GB team at the championships and saying, "Have you heard of flag football? You should maybe get in contact and sort of try and do that." And I know a couple of the girls have come down and they've got in contact, and the sport is growing and growing. Obviously the Olympic inclusion is great, but also the support that we're getting from our own governing body has never been better.
Yeah.
I know there are still challenges sometimes, but like it's difficult for them, I guess, to manage an entirety, like the entirety of like a full sport. And the women's team is just we're taking a lot from that. We're obviously just we're not fighting battles within ourselves anymore. We're not fighting big battles within ourselves anymore. And that it just helps the culture. Because all of a sudden all our energy is now focused on the field stuff. So Chad and Jason, who I know were in attendance for a lot of Paris and seem to be enjoying themselves on the sideline. I've seen some videos again of them enjoying it. Like I haven't really seen as much of that before, and that's just, like I say, it's a marker as to where we're going. And just while I'm thinking of it, I'll give one little bit of the sort of party aftermath. On the Saturday, we were sat in the sort of lobby of the hotel, taking on board the Izzy and Angie's advice of staying well hydrated.
Yes.
And Maka is talking, is asking people to sort of stand up and say a sentence or two. And the one thing that I sort of stood up and said was, and it sort of came across as tongue in cheek at the time, and I really didn't mean it, but it was so nice to have the guys team around. We really had. I'd said we missed them in China, and I think that was taken as a little bit of a dig, and it wasn't meant as such at all. But the fact that those guys have qualified for Dusseldorf as well and being able to sort of share that journey and that experience with them, and having sort of you're guaranteed 12 supporters on the sideline. You know they're going to be there for you, and you know they're going to be loud for you, and it goes both ways. It's great to see GB as a whole representing on that world stage.
Agreed. And I can't think of a better soundbite to end our evening, because we have been going on. But Fraser, honestly, mate, like, thank you so much for coming on.
A lot of fun.
It's been I know it's been a while since you've been on the last time. It's been a while since we've caught up, but I'm sure we'll catch you again soon. But yeah, obviously, congratulations to yourself, the rest of the coaching staff, and of course the team, back-to-back European champions. I've been saying for the last 2 years that defending European champions sounds pretty good, but
it sounds pretty nice, yeah.
But yeah, two-time European champions also sounds great. So yeah, thank you very much for spending your time with us. We will be back very soon with another episode focusing on our European Championship team. So don't forget to join us later on. But yeah, from all of us, it is good night. Thank you very much for listening. And that is the way that we HN see it.